Hi everyone, I'm Masoud Agassi, and in this video series we are going to learn about processes and threads. Whether you are new to this topic or want to understand it better, this series will explain everything in a simple and practical way. Let's get started.
In part 1, we learned about the definition of processes and threads in the context of an operating system. In part 2, we explored process scheduling policies and the steps involved in a context switch. And in part 3, we covered two of the most important challenges of concurrent programming. In this part, we will continue our discussion on the challenges of concurrent programming by exploring three more challenges that every software developer should be aware of. After addressing the issue of shared writable data, one might assume that problems only occur when multiple threads update the same variable. However, that's not the case. Another issue called memory visibility can arise even if only one thread updates a variable and others only read it. Let's explore this issue with an example. This time our class has a static Boolean variable named flag initialized to true. Inside the main method, we create a writer thread and pass an inline runnable to it. Inside the runnable, after printing a line, the writer thread simulates some time-consuming work using the sleep method. This method pauses the executing thread for a specified duration, in this case 1 second. After sleeping, the writer thread sets flag to false, prints a line, and exits. Next, we create a reader thread with another inline runnable. Inside the runnable, the reader thread prints a line and enters a while loop that continues until flag becomes false. At that point, it prints a line and exits. After creating these threads, we start both and wait for them to terminate. In this program, only the writer thread modifies the flag variable, while the reader thread only reads it. What do you think the output will be? One might expect that about 1 second after both threads start, the flag changes to false and both threads terminate. Let's run the program and see the output. Writer thread starts, reader thread starts, writer thread sets flag to false, and nothing, our program hangs here. But why does this happen? It seems the reader thread doesn't see the updated value of flag after it's changed by the writer thread. The issue here is that threads often have their own local caches for shared variables. When one thread updates a variable in its cache, other threads might not immediately see the change. In this case, when the writer thread sets flag to false, it updates its local cache but not necessarily the main memory. So the reader thread continues to see the old value of flag. The volatile keyword in Java solves this issue. When a variable is declared volatile, any write to it is immediately flushed to main memory and any read is directly from the main memory. Let's declare flag as volatile and run the program again. Yes, both threads terminated successfully. Now it's the time to review another common problem in multi-threaded programs, deadlocks. We will explore this with an example. This time our class has two static locks. Inside the main method we print a line and then create thread 1. Inside the runnable of thread 1, after printing a line, we try to acquire lock A, then do some time-consuming work, and after that we try to acquire lock B and print a line. Next, we create thread 2 with a similar runnable. However, thread 2 first acquires lock B, performs some work, and then tries to acquire lock A before printing a line. Finally, we start both threads and wait for them to finish. In short, we have two threads acquiring two locks in different orders. Let's run the program and observe the output. As you can see, both of threads start, but somehow they fail to acquire the second lock and are waiting forever. If we examine the code, we can see the issue. First, thread 1 acquires lock A at line 16 and starts executing its work at line 18. Around the same time, thread 2 acquires lock B at line 29 and starts executing its work at line 31. Now when thread 1 finishes its work and tries to acquire lock B at line 20, it fails because lock B is already held by thread 2. Similarly, when thread 2 tries to acquire lock A at line 33, it fails because lock A is already held by thread 1. This situation is called a deadlock. In general, deadlocks can occur whenever multiple threads try to acquire the same set of locks in different orders. To resolve this, we can ensure that both threads acquire the locks in the same order. Let's modify the code and run the program again to confirm. Yes, this time both threads complete successfully. Now let's talk about the final challenge we will cover in this topic: performance. So far we have discussed the benefits of using threads, such as achieving parallelism. However, using threads incorrectly can also decrease the performance of our program. Let's look at another example. In this Java program, we will run a mathematical processor-bound test with varying numbers of threads to measure how performance changes with different thread counts. Since the JVM performs optimizations when running the same code repeatedly, we first run the test without measuring performance to warm up the JVM. Then we run the test 4 times for each thread count and calculate the average runtime to ensure our results aren't affected by one-time side effects. We will measure performance for 3 thread counts. First, we will measure performance using 2 threads. Then we will use 12 threads, and finally we will test with 1000 threads. Inside the main method, we print some informational lines about the available system CPU cores and the mathematical tasks to be executed. Next, we start our warm-up run, followed by the actual measurement tests. We won't go into the mathematical details of the code as they are not relevant to our discussion. Instead, let's focus on the measurements we are printing in the report section. In each report, we print the number of threads used, the average time taken to complete the test, and the maximum memory used during the test. What do you think the output of this test will be? At first glance, one might assume that more threads are better, so 1000 threads should perform more work than fewer threads. However, the result tells a different story. Before running the test, it's important to note that the actual output depends on many factors. What we are highlighting here is not about the exact numbers, but the general concept behind them. For example, running this test on a Linux system with 4 CPU cores and Java 8 will yield different results compared to running it on a Windows system with 8 CPU cores and Java 21. Now let's run the program and see the output. This system has 12 logical processor cores. The report for 2 threads is printed. Next, we have the report for 12 threads. And finally, the report for 1000 threads. For 2 threads, the average time is 4.20 seconds, and the maximum memory used is 6 megabytes. For 12 threads, the average time is 1.10, and the maximum memory used is also 6 megabytes. This clearly shows that by dividing a processor-bound problem into smaller parts and utilizing all available CPU cores, we can achieve parallelism, and our program runs faster. However, for 1000 threads, the average time is 1.27 and the maximum memory used is 57 megabytes. Why are we seeing higher average times and increased memory usage? There are 2 main issues causing this. The first one is the context switching overhead. As mentioned earlier, switching execution context between threads and processes involves calculations, memory storage, and restoration operations, which introduce performance overhead. Therefore, we should aim to minimize unnecessary context switches in our programs. In this case, since the system has only 12 logical processors and the program is processor-bound with no I/O operations, creating more than 12 threads is unnecessary and actually reduces performance due to the excessive context switching. And the second issue is the memory overhead of threads. While threads share the memory address space of their parent process, each thread has its own stack space. Depending on stack usage, each thread requires some memory allocation. When creating a high number of threads, this memory overhead can become significant and lead to performance degradation. Thanks for watching part 4 of this tutorial series. In this part, we covered 3 more challenges of concurrent programming that every software developer should be aware of. In the next part, we will learn about best practices for using threads in Java. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tutorials like this. It's going to be an exciting journey, so make sure to stay tuned.